When people talk about probably the most improved character improved, basically what I'm saying is when people talk about the most improved character on the show, the most developed character, a lot of people point to one character, and that's Rarity. And honestly, I don't think anybody could be blamed for that. When you look at Rarity, like I said in my reply to After the Fact, when you take a look at Rarity, you see a character that, when you initially see her for the first time, you see a character that's been done constantly over and over in all kinds of shows and movies. Basically a character that's very diva-ish. Very diva-ish. In other words, a character that's, when I talk about very diva-ish, I'm talking about a character that's more along the lines of they don't like to get dirty. They don't really like to get dirty. They fawn over the high class and high society. They fawn and obsess over fashion. Anything that's glamorous, anything that's glamorous and beautiful, they fawn over. They at times obsess over or get focused upon. And when Rarity's character debuted in the show, a lot of people, from everyone in the Brony and Pegasista community, in the MLP fan base community in general, everyone didn't really like her character at first. Because pretty much her character seemed to represent everything they had seen before. But it wasn't until later on, throughout the series run, that Rarity started to improve. That the writers, from Megan McCarthy to Lauren Faust, who developed the show, to M.A. Larson, to Jason Teresen, Amy Rogers, the lady writers, as they call themselves on Twitter, Christine and Joan, I think that's her name, to many others, came out and realized that they needed to show the fans that Rarity was more than what they would originally perceive her to be. That she was more than just a diva-ish character that was into high society, into high class, into fashion, not willing to get her hooves dirty or whatever. But yet, throughout the series run, they have proven, with Rarity, they have proven everybody wrong. They have proven the doubters wrong. Because like I said in my reply to both the Silver Quill's After the Facts videos on Rarity and Rainbow Dash, I said that Rarity, when you first look at her, you wouldn't think she'd be the kind of character, being very diva-ish, you wouldn't think she'd give someone like Spike the time of day or even acknowledge how he feels about her and vice versa. Well, guess what? The writers proved you wrong. Now, true, they haven't gone any further except hint at the fact that there's something there. There's something more there than friendship. They haven't gone any further than hinting that there is something more there than friendship between the two. But when you look at someone like Rarity, you would think here's a character that wouldn't give someone like Spike the time of day, but yet she does. She gives him the time of day, when you wouldn't expect her to. Now, her growth as a character really shines through. Sweet and Elite is a good example. Like I said in my reply video, people complain about the fact that one of the things they don't like about her, or they feel that needs to be removed, is her manipulation of others. Well, like I said in my reply video, she herself has been manipulated many times. And it's a manipulation of what she's always desired, of what she fawns over. And that's the beauty and glamour of high society, high class, fashion, being part of the elite, if you catch my drift. And it's in Sweet and Elite that she falls victim to this because of the fact that she wants to finally realize this dream, but in the end, she realizes that she's going to be doing it at the expense of her friends. Doing it basically at the expense of her friends. Another good example of that as well is, I believe, Made in Manhattan. Well, basically, when it comes time for her to do or showcase her new designs out of her new boutique there, her friends are not around, and it's through this opening, and it's through the opening. Basically, it's through her eyes opening via the rainbow power, of course, that she realizes the importance of her friends and the support she gets from them. So yeah, Rarity can fall victim, there is no doubt, to manipulation as well, as much as she gives out manipulation, as some people would say. Now, one thing about Rarity a lot of people feel is debatable is the whole thing about the fire ruby. You know, she knew, because basically she knew how much that meant to Spike. But in turn, she manipulated somewhat in people's mind, from people's point of view, she manipulated it out of Spike's possession. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and I did say this is what I'm saying, but I could have added more to it. But here's the thing. Like I said in my reply video, Spike could have easily not given in. He easily could have just kept it to himself, maybe even ate it right there and then, and be done with it. Now, true, Rarity would be a little upset, but Rarity's character is the kind that would understand. And for a bit, even though she was kind of like, okay, she was kind of like she wanted that. She knew how important it was to Spike, but in a sense, she knew from basically a high class fashionista standpoint, how valuable something like that could be. And again, like I said, Spike didn't have to give it to her. He could have just resisted, but here's the thing. It wasn't maybe because of Rarity's manipulation. Part of that could be it. But what made Spike give it up is he realized how many times Rarity may have been generous to him in Twilight. How many times she's helped them out. True, this was only into the second season, but the point is, he realized how generous she was. In fact, even though we didn't see a visual representation, Spike probably recalled how generous she was of giving up her own tail during the first mission together. So when you think about it from that perspective, maybe that all came back to Spike's mind. Maybe that all came back to Spike, and he realized, well, she was generous to give up her tail to help make a serpent happy. Because obviously she was fawning over the thing, and he saw how happy and giddy it was making her. Maybe the memories of her giving up her tail to Steve Magnet, he wasn't called Steve Magnet at the time though, to make him happy, to give him back a full mustache, that probably came back to him, and he realized, you know what? She didn't have to do that, but she did. And that's probably what triggered him to finally say, you know what, Rarity? If it means that much to you, you should keep it. Because even though, like I said, he could have easily just kept it, ignored her manipulation, as people put it, or her desire to have it, and he could have easily kept it, ate it right then and there if he wanted to make sure he wouldn't get manipulated. But he didn't. He brought memories of her generosity, perhaps memories of her generosity to him in Twilight, and probably to Steve Magnet, came flooding back, and he realized, you know what? If she's willing to part with her tail, I'm willing to part with this. And again, like I said, some people may not be in agreement with her doing some kind of manipulation to try to get him to do that. But let me pose a question to you. And Dr. Wolf, if you're watching, let me pose it to you. Let me pose it to you. Who's to say Spike wouldn't have given it to her without manipulation? She could have easily saw how precious it was, acknowledged it, and accepted that Spike was going to eat it. She didn't have to go as far as to say it was magnificent and bat her eyes at him. No. She could have just left it at, oh, it's nice and everything, and, be a little disappointed, but she could have accepted that. The point is, who's to say Spike wouldn't have given it to her without manipulation? You see, that's the question you have to think. Because like I said, and I know I'm dwelling on this, Spike probably remembered all the generous things that she did, and especially for that Steve Magnet character, and maybe that's what helped him, help encourage him to give it up. Because even though he had basically, what's the word? Even though he had preserved it and was, well, basically like with a fine wine, you were preserving the wine, you were making it, you were aging it, basically. As much as he was preserving and aging that ruby to perfection, like I said, he didn't have to do it, but he did it. And who's to say he wouldn't have done it without manipulation? Now, true, like I said, Rarity's manipulation of others, people may not agree upon, may not be fans of. They may not be fans of her manipulating a delivery pony in Rarity Investigates to kind of put in an extra order for that day. Nobody may have liked that, but, and true, you don't have to be a fan. But again, from what she basically pointed out, is she was complimenting the guy, and her compliments were kind of very flirtatious, yes, very manipulative, no doubt. But who's to say the guy could have just brushed her off? He didn't have to take the manipulation. He could have brushed her off. The point is, Rarity does have weaknesses and stuff that she's growing out of. There is no doubt. But here's the thing. Above all that, she learns from these mistakes that she makes, from the manipulations she gets put through. She learns from them. And then sometimes she carries that lesson on. Let me give you an example of how much character growth Rarity has had. Okay? Season 2, even though it was about a season, what happens? She is probably the most concerned for Spike besides Twilight. Yeah, the other main 6 are concerned. 3 of them mostly have to follow Spike. But she is the most concerned to the point that she asks Rainbow Dash to follow him to make sure he doesn't get hurt. Yeah, she literally asks Rainbow Dash to go follow him. Because she's concerned about him. It shows you how much character growth she has gone through. And I think that episode was was after Secret of My Excess. She basically asked Rainbow Dash to go after Spike. She even threatened to kick the living daylights out of the 3 dragon bullies to protect him. And she didn't have to do that. Another good example of her character growth as well is when she's with the others. It's like Dr. Wolf has said and many others have said. Sometimes, depending on who she's with, she doesn't look down upon them. She doesn't look down really upon them. She doesn't judge them. She doesn't look down upon them or judge them for who or what they are. She looks for the beauty within. It doesn't matter if you got glasses and freckles all over and buck teeth sticking out. She accepts people or ponies, other characters for who they are. And again, Rarity basically represents the character that's not so perfect. It's like that song they sang in today's episode, this weekend's episode, Fame and Misfortune. They are not flawless, and Rarity is a big exception. Rarity is a big exception due to the fact that she's not flawless. She may try to act like it at times, but she's not. She may try to hold herself to a higher standard in the past and present, but she's not flawless. Now, true, as seen in Fame and Misfortune today and in other episodes throughout the series, does criticism get to her? Yes. Does criticism cause her to kind of lose it a little bit? Absolutely. Does it cause her to blow things out of proportion? Yes. But in the end, she learns a lesson. And that lesson is, and depending on what that lesson is, she learns it and she takes it with her. The thing is with Rarity's character is she's not perfect. True, she may physically show the image of perfectionist, of a character that's flawless. As a character that's, being a fan of wrestling is like a member of the Beautiful People, or a member of Les Cool, or if you want to look at present day today, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, the iconic duo in NXT. She kind of is like one of those characters. She's kind of looked at as one of even though she's kind of looked at as one of those as characters like that, she's not perfect. Her beauty, even though she could be looked at as something like that, it's more her beauty in the way she is designed and represented is more of a representation. Is even though they may look beautiful on the inside and out, they're not perfect. They have the flaws. They can be easily manipulated. They can easily fall victim. But in the end, they're the kind that rises back up. And Rarity's character is a good example of that. Like I said, there's a lot of things people may not like about her. Even to this day, they may not like her manipulation of other characters and feel that that's a trait that needs to go. It needs to be removed. Again, I agree with that, but the thing is, that's what makes her character who she is, because she'll learn from that, because down the line, if not in that same episode and story, she gets manipulated as well. But like I said, Rarity is the kind of character that when you would first see her, you wouldn't think would give anybody at the time of day, but she does. Good examples that were used by Silver Quill and Dr. Wolf and many others is, her association with characters like Applejack and how they may disagree on certain things and likes and certain things and whatever they do, certain things and jobs and maybe even crushes, that even though they may disagree, in the end they find a compromise. Just like in Sisterhood Social, they will find a compromise. They may not, Rarity may not like to do certain things, but if she's willing to compromise, if she can find a compromise with her sister to be willing to spend time with her and vice versa, they're going to do it. She'll find ways to do it. She'll find ways to go through with it. There's always that compromise. Like I said, she'll find a compromise with Applejack depending, despite their differences over things, their friendship always overcomes that and helps them to compromise of what they could do. Same with Pinkie Pie. They may have differences at times, especially in Spice of Life, of how certain things should be, especially when it comes to a certain restaurant. But in the end, the friendship overcomes and they are able to compromise and agree on what to do to fix the matter. In fact, Silver Quill mentioned that Pinkie Pie is one of those characters that Rarity could be herself around. And it's true. It's very much true. Rainbow Dash is another character that Rarity can have differences over, can have a ton of differences over things about. But in the end, her longtime friendship with Dash will allow her to compromise and come up with a solution. Same with Fluttershy. Same with Twilight. There's always going to be differences, but there's going to basically in the end, the friendship is going to help them compromise what they have to do to fix the solution. You see, Rarity may have a different outlook sometimes on certain things, especially if she's a business-oriented fashionista-like character. But just because she might be represented as that doesn't mean she is. It's like I've said before. Rarity is it's like a book. It's like a book. You look at the cover and you think, the cover doesn't look good, so the book's not going to look good. Or you look at the cover to a DVD or a Blu-ray and you think, or even a VHS back in the day, and you think, it's not going to be good. Cover looks like crap. Here's the thing. You don't judge a book by its cover. Here's the old saying. Don't judge a book by its cover. Same with movies. Same with a character like Rarity. She may look like she's very diva-ish, at the start, and throughout at times, because of her likes and dislikes. But don't judge her by that cover. Don't judge her by that cover of a fashionista diva, of a diva-ish fashionista. Don't judge her by that cover, because you don't know about her character until you get to know her. And when you get to know her, then you'll see that there's more to her than you can ever imagine. And again, like I said, her character is and because of everything that she's gone through throughout the past 6.5 seasons, she has shown and proven to be the most improved and most developed character out of the main 6. That may seem like nonsense to some people, because some may say she still hasn't really improved too much. Hey, there's no doubt Rarity still has a lot to go. I said in a video and even in a post of when I asked the question, how old are the main 6? And I looked at Rarity and Fluttershy as being the oldest, and basically Rarity and Fluttershy being on that level of maturity to where they still show immatureness, especially Rarity, as Silver Quill pointed out, but she's also one of the most mature, or if you will. And how someone like Rainbow Dash could probably be the youngest out of it. Rarity, how do I put this? Rarity can be the most mature out of the group, if not at times the most immature, depending on her reactions and stuff. The point is with Rarity, what I was trying to say is, what was it? I kind of lost the train of thought here. Okay, like I was saying, Rarity is kind of like that book that when you look at the cover, you think it's not going to be good, but when you read it, it is good. So it's the don't judge a book by its cover. Same with Rarity. She is very much a fashionista diva in a sense, but you can't judge her by that cover. You got to get to know her. You got to get to know her to see who she really is. And when you see that there's more to her than you can imagine, it shows you that just because, she may act certain ways at times, she may break down and cry and be manipulative or whatever you want to call it, that she's one of the most mature characters you're going to meet. She is. She's one of the most mature characters you're ever going to meet. And it shows you how far she's come character development-wise as a character. How much her maturity has grown as well. She didn't have to be, here's the thing, the writers, Lauren Faust didn't have to create her or develop her character to be very diva-ish or fashionista-ish or mature at all. She didn't have to do it, but she did. Because like I said, Rarity is a character that, I think in the long run, when you look at Rarity, it's like I said, it's the old don't judge a book by its cover saying with her. Because basically Rarity, even though from a point of view of, let's say, a Spike or any other character, she might be beauty and glamour on the inside and out, but she's also the representation of being more than that. Basically, her beauty and glamour may be the cover, may be nice to look at, and she may be beautiful and glamorous on the inside, but when you open her book, or you get to know her, you find out that there's more to her than just that. And that's the truth. So, as far as character growth goes, Rarity has definitely shown it. And I agree with Dr. Wolf. I agree with, Silver Quill. I agree with some people that have talked about her character. And there is no doubt her character has grown and will continue to grow. I can only imagine what the movie has planned for her come October 6th. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Rarity has grown as a character? And how much more do you think she has to grow? What else do you think needs to change or needs to be improved on? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. But as the old saying goes, with someone like Rarity, don't judge a book by its cover.